Hello and welcome to what I would like to call the first session of Corona life coaching. The sessions that I will be going through will mainly focus on practical things. For that reason it will be short sessions. I don't want to create a training course whereby you watch for 3 hours and everything is explained to you, and the reality is we can only do so much at a time. So these courses will be, or these videos will be really short. It will really be there to just explain maybe 1 or 2 things that you can do that day or bring into your lifestyle in that day to get your mindset, to get your emotions, to get your vision, to get everything that you need to get through this time, not just survive it, but actually thrive in this. On that note, I would just like to mention maybe a few things and how this is going to work. We're going to speak on a number of things, and some of you are really advanced in some of those things and some people are not. The truth is we are all at different places in our life with different things. So I'm not going to try to teach number 10 out of 10 on every single one of these. In fact, I'm going to aim for 5 out of 10 for every single one of these. The reason for that is this is not a mastery course. This is not a self-mastery course. This is a course that makes sure that every single thing that can hurt you in this time is managed by you. It's to make sure that there are no traps, that there are no blind spots that you do not see that can actually catch up with you and really get you down. So some of us are in different areas in our life at the 10, some of us are at a 1. Now the 1 is probably going to hurt you in this time if it is important for a time like this. If you're at a 10, I'm not suggesting you go down to a 5, keep it at a 10. But remember, my purpose for this video is to get everyone at least to a 5 on some of these very important habits, mindsets and practices. Why this video? Well, the reality is this is a dangerous time for our mindsets. This is a dangerous time for our emotions. And if we don't manage it well, and if we allow it to manage us, it can really hurt us. There are mainly 4 reasons why I've identified why this season can be dangerous for just about every single person. When I say danger, I don't mean physical danger. Well, it can actually be physical too. When I say danger, I really mean that we get beaten down by this time, that this time steals from us, and instead of us really living the life that God has given us, we start to give it over to circumstances. Now, what are the 4 things that places us at risk in this time? Well, the first one is obviously the isolation that causes different types of things. First of all, you are isolated from your habits. Your normal daily habits don't happen anymore, and we are all, even the biggest artist amongst us, we are all creatures of habit. We just define habit differently and we do different habits depending on our personality type. But we all have habits. We all have things that we like to do every day. And we define ourselves quite often by our habits. Going to work is a habit. Doing the things, creating success at work is a habit. The things we create there, the things we do there, those are all the daily things that we do that we find meaning in life from. We derive meaning from that by doing it every day, by going through it, by excelling in it, and by purposefully walking forward in that. The problem right now is that those things have been taken away from us. So not just is the habit or the activity taken away from us, but also the meaning and the self-worth that we have ascribed to that. So if we don't look at that, that can really trip you up. The second part is we're isolated from people. And many of us, we would call ourselves introverts, and that means we think we don't really need people. And I think at a time like this, we will really understand and start to see how we all relate differently to people, but that we all really need people in our life. We're going to have to look at how does the isolation from people affect us. So that's number 2. The third thing that also can trip us up is the uncertainty of the future. With the current lockdown and the economy, both in South Africa and internationally, we don't know what it's going to look like 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, a month, 3 months from now. It is all very vague at the moment, and that uncertainty can create a lot of fear and just feel like our foundations are moving. Now again, as I said, I'm not going to try to share everything in one video, how to deal with all of those things. We're going to break them down as the sessions progress. A lot of what I would like to share here is not just my opinion, even though my opinion comes through all the time. A lot of it is based on psychology, a lot of it is based on neuroscience and on coaching, and just on life coaching as well, and how the human being is put together and what makes us tick. Interesting is that one of the torture techniques that we even see in movies from time to time is a torture technique where they use total isolation from input for the brain, where they put someone in a water tank in a suit so that they have no sense of feeling, they have no sense of smell, hearing or sight, and they keep that person in that state for a while. And what happens is the brain, because it constantly needs information, because it constantly seeks information, after a while that person would start to hear his own heartbeat and even the blood flow in his veins, because the brain reaches out to get that connection with the outside world. And if that connection is broken long enough, that person would actually go insane. Now, we're not in that state, we don't have no information for our brains, but the current state of isolation does take away a lot of what our brain was used to, what we were used to experiencing in our life, the input, the excitement, the vibe, the connection with people, the connection with doing things, being successful, all of that has been taken from us. And again, if our habits or our activities are being taken away from us, the things that we perceive as valuable, as the things where we perceive as adding value and therefore also getting value, perceiving our lives to be valued as well, if those things are taken away from us, then suddenly it leaves a huge void unmanaged that can lead to depression. Now, what is interesting about depression is psychologists call depression and anxiety kissing cousins, because they run together. So not only a feeling of depression, but also a feeling of intense anxiety. And the problem with that is it starts to grow. It becomes a spiral. Our activity levels go down, our thoughts become smaller, and just like the isolation keeps us in a room or in a house or in an environment, suddenly our minds and our emotions also becomes boxed in, and we've experienced the walls closing in on us. Now, what are the things that we can do to mitigate that? Because the truth is we are in control of those emotions. We can't determine every emotion we feel, but how we deal with them is extremely important. How we manage our lives, how we manage our mindsets is extremely important in this time. This is not just a time to wait to get to the other side. So how am I going to approach this series? I'm going to approach this series from the understanding that we are created in three parts: body, spirit, and soul. And every single one of those parts have got very important aspects to it, that if we look at that, if we understand it, and if we manage it, it totally changes our experience of life, it totally changes our outlook, it changes our vision, our actions, and also the way we end this process. Thank you for watching. I will explain more of that in our next session.